Today, I'm going to share with you some of the characteristics of a radiant person. Why? Because I firmly believe that neutral interactions don't exist, and that we always leave someone feeling a little better or a little worse than they did just before. So we might as well bring a little kindness and positivity into our lives. Radiant people are those who radiate positive energy through an approachable and smiling attitude and a tranquility of mind, allowing others to readjust to this perfect balance. They are calm and serene, radiating energy to others and soothing them with their mere presence. While being radiant is in their very nature, it's also something we can cultivate. The main characteristic of radiant people is self-love. Above all, they are people who are comfortable with themselves, who are neither self-deprecating nor self-centered. Learning to love yourself is therefore the first step towards radiating positivity. By appreciating yourself, you exude a confidence and serenity that spreads to others.
Knowing and loving yourself, the first step to radiance. And to learn to love yourself, it's essential to know yourself well. To do this, don't ignore your feelings. If actions or words have hurt you, analyze your feelings and sensations precisely. Ideally, try to be alone and do this in writing. And don't put pressure on yourself. It's not about self-judgment, but rather about understanding how you function. This way, you better understand what hurts you, and you can learn to move beyond it. It's also important to confront your shadow self, and this is precisely what the psychiatrist Carl Jung explained so long ago. It is not by looking at the light that one becomes luminous, but by plunging into one's darkness. But this work is often unpleasant and therefore unpopular. The goal then is to uncover all that is dark and depressing, that part of ourselves we know so little about, yet which plays a significant role in our behavior and fears. To do this, a simple technique is to try to identify all the character traits you dislike in others and understand how these flaws affect you. Next, analyze your inner life to understand if something is amiss. Do you have nightmares? Do you have dark thoughts or frightening fantasies? You need to understand what this reveals about you. Finally, consider whether you experience recurring patterns, toxic relationships, a series of breakups, etc., in order to shed light on what is beyond your control, what you don't understand about yourself.
Smile. If you want people to like you, you simply have to give them a reason to do so. A smile is contagious. It can be heard over the phone and even seen through a mask, especially as we get older and fine lines appear around our eyes. Smiling also helps relieve stress because it releases endorphins, those feel-good hormones, and puts us in a positive energy state. Contrary to what you might think, smiling isn't just for happy people. You can smile even when you're sad. Personally, I sometimes smile at others, even when I'm having a tough day. As Kalush said, we're not responsible for the face we were born with, but we are responsible for the face we make.
Don't be afraid of judgment. It's a well-known fact that you can't please everyone, and if we tried, we would become individuals without personality, filled with immense frustration. So we shouldn't be afraid of upsetting others. In any case, our projects and our evolution will always bother someone. Your life plans will inevitably bother those who don't have any. Is that a reason to give up on them? The courage to be different requires facing solitude. It's the price to pay for achieving freedom. And the more we manage to express our talents, the more we attract people who have the intelligence and virtue to recognize our difference. For this, there's only one solution. Don't listen to others. When you share your projects, the people around you will often tend to project their anxieties onto you, or even try to prevent you, consciously or unconsciously, from realizing your desires, whether out of cowardice or envy. And when someone judges us or tries to advise us against doing something, and we think they're right, we need to understand why we think that. Why should someone else's ideas be more important than our own desires? Does this reactivate fears from our past?
or injunctions from parental or teacher authority?
Acting with balance and respect for moral principles. We all have the choice to act, and we must choose in order to move forward in life. We may make errors in judgment, but we must learn from them and have the right to change our minds. To achieve this balance, we must pay attention to our emotions to see how they evolve and to always find peace within ourselves. Thus, if we feel that our state of mind is rather low, we must learn to put joy and serenity back at the heart of our lives. For Ariane Bilaron, this balance also involves adhering to moral values. Examples: do not kill, do not steal, do not mistreat others, etc. Indeed, life and human beings are made of duality: shadow, light, sadness, joy, hot, cold, good, bad, etc. And it's important to be aware of this, especially the impermanence of things. This awareness allows one to always be radiant, no matter what happens.
Avoid toxic people. Throughout our lives, we risk encountering toxic people who will hurt us, whether intentionally or not. Rather than getting bogged down in a relationship or situation of anxiety and stress, which is detrimental to us, it's best to avoid people with the following profiles now. The person who monitors your every move and judges you at every opportunity. Their presence makes you uncomfortable because you feel constantly watched. The person who belittles you, appropriates your ideas, minimizes your successes, and rejoices in your failures or when you're down. The person who only wants to take and receive, never giving. The person who is cowardly and will never be there for you in times of trouble because they don't want to take risks. The person who constantly dwells on their problems, is never well, and only speaks negatively to get comfort. The person who is complacent and doesn't want to learn or grow. He may even resort to lying to maintain his dominance over you and keep you in the dark.
To resemble a sequin. Why am I talking about sequins here? Because sequins don't ask questions. They shine. It doesn't matter what color, what shape, or where they're placed. They don't think that if they encounter another shining sequin, they'll be less noticeable. On the contrary, they know that surrounding themselves with shining sequins will create an even more dazzling effect.
Staying positive. Life isn't always a bed of roses, Kevin, and it's not about being in denial either. Having inspiring books, surrounding yourself with positive and cheerful people, and establishing a gratitude routine are all things that help us stay positive. Being positive also means living in the present moment. In fact, there's a very apt quote from Lao Tzu that says, "If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are worried, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present."
Being authentic and accepting yourself. To experience joy in life, you must also have the courage to be authentic, to accept who you are, and to make choices that align with your values, values you've carefully considered and that haven't been imposed on you by others. You must be able to say no without fear of disappointing or being abandoned. Know how to laugh when you feel like laughing. Know how to listen to your heart and let yourself be guided by what brings you well-being.
As you've probably gathered, radiating positivity means knowing and respecting yourself. It means knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, your own aspirations, your passions. What we've been taught, the general guidelines we've been asked to follow, isn't about knowing ourselves. It's about knowing what should be. The more we discover ourselves, the more we remove layers of projections from others, the closer we get to our true nature, and the more we can radiate positivity.